Welcome to Forte and Go, folks. I should say welcome back, right? Because it's actually been a few weeks. I apologize for that. In the real world, in my real life, I do travel. So that's been super complicated with, appointments and, tests and so on. And it's just been very difficult to find the right moment. So not to make excuses, but yeah. It's been kind of difficult. So here we are, week 16, near the end of the season. And as you would guess, things really get crazy. Things get hot. We have a pretty clear picture of the playoff teams. And it's just really now a matter of, okay, the last couple of draws and also exactly where they're going to place in the playoffs. So this is where it gets super interesting, is just who's going to get that number one seed, who's going to have momentum, who's going to be injured, or COVID, or, what are we going to be seeing, right? The Super Bowl is going to be played in LA. Will the Rams or the Chargers play in this game? That's going to be really interesting. Over the last couple of weeks, we've seen, some really incredible games. I'm going to be doing a video to cover some of that. Some real shockers in there. I don't think I have to recap that, but I will anyway. I'll say a couple of them. The Cardinals against the Lions. I think people were shocked with the Bucks and the Saints. There have been others. So it's really been, a very interesting, as always in the NFL, few weeks. Now, speaking of the NFL, let's talk about Week 16. We saw yesterday, or the day before, yesterday, the Niners travel to the the Tennessee Titans. Now, I don't know how you all feel about this, but I really like Vrabel as a coach. I also like Shanahan. And Shanahan has that team operating, that Niners team operating to their strengths. That's the best way to put it, because I think most people will agree, look, Garoppolo is not a championship quality quarterback. And I don't mean to slight, Jimmy G, but let's just say he's not top tier, okay? He's prone to mistakes. And he's played out of his mind these last few weeks during this win streak. And the running game is operating. The defense is coming together. I believe in momentum when it comes to these kind of things. When the team starts to win and they start to believe in themselves, and you have a couple of players step up, the rest of the team is motivated. The rest of the team has hope. The rest of the team is excited for what's next. And you see, that reflect in the way they play. So hats off to the coaching staff, to Shanahan, to the players of the Niners. They're playing out of their mind, and quite frankly, they're playing, to me, above their grade. So that's a good thing. Meanwhile, Vrabel is a great coach as well, and he has a good staff. And I think that the Titans are super, super good at a few things. One of them is short yardage situations. I don't know what they're doing yet, but somehow when you try to run short yardage, even a quarterback sneak, and it's been for a couple of years now, they are the toughest team in the league to beat in short yardage. They're also good at running the ball. They're getting better in certain other aspects of their game, and they were at home. So how did this game play out? Well, everybody knows the Titans won by a field goal. And I thought it was a great game. It was a great game. A well-coached game, not too many mistakes. But Jimmy G's propensity to turn the ball over showed up. I mean, he was pressured. He was sacked 2 times, pressured a number of other times, hit a few other times, and he threw 2 interceptions. Meanwhile, Tannehill, he got pressured. He got sacked as well. Tannehill, his favorite target, and he had a great game, was A.J. Brown, and he hasn't had a game like this in I don't know how long. Meanwhile, of course, Deebo Samuel showed up. Kittles was also around, but he didn't have a stellar game. I think that basically you could just say that the the Titans outlasted the Niners. I think that's what it comes down to. I think Tannehill is a little bit of a better quarterback. I think it showed up. He's also a little bit more athletic, not as injured, not as injury prone. I thought that the running game for the Niners was held in check. I mean, you had players that got about 50 yards, but nobody dominated. They didn't gash the Titans. And I thought the Titans were super sound for the most part, not giving up anything, the big explosive plays in the passing game, except for the one big run by Debo toward the end of the game. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's what you're looking at is just a great game. So that was Thursday night's game. The first matchup that we're going to talk about, and so we're going to do all the predictions in this video, is the first matchup is Cleveland traveling to Green Bay. That's a really tough team. Cleveland's 7-7, and they're also injured. They're playing with a third-string quarterback. They're going against Aaron Rodgers, probably the hottest quarterback, the best quarterback, in my opinion, in the league right now. And his team is they're rolling, and they're in Green Bay. They're home. Not too many injuries or COVID that I can think of. So let's look at some stats. We'll go over that just so you have an idea of what kind of teams we're looking at. We'll do this real quick. The Cleveland Browns are 19th in scoring. Meanwhile, the Packers are 13th. The Green Bay is in total yards per game. They are 19th, and the Packers are 13th. Points scored, total yards per game, their ranking is the same. The passing yards per game, Cleveland's 25th, the Packers are 9th, okay? Gives you some idea of what they're doing. And then rushing, it's the other way around. Rushing, Cleveland is 4th, and meanwhile the Packers are 21st. Time of possession, Cleveland's 10th, and that's probably because of running the ball. And then the Packers are 3rd. Points against per game, Cleveland's 14th, the Packers are 10th. That defense has been stout most of the season. Total yards per game, Cleveland is 6th, and the Packers are 8th. So pretty close. And then passing yards per game against us in the passing game, you got the 8th for the Browns and 9th for the Packers. Rushing yards, so their run defense, the Browns are 9th, Packers are 13th. The sacks, the Browns are 7th, and meanwhile the Packers are 18th. And then when it comes to interceptions, the Browns are 13th and the Packers are 9th. So these are some interesting stats. I think you'll find that basically, for as good as the Packers have been playing, they're not like number one, but they're certainly up there in most of these stats. The Browns are kind of middle of the pack in most of these, metrics, and that's pretty much what you're looking at in terms of these teams. Now, the Browns are really in a bad kind of way right now because they're playing catch up. They're trying to catch the Ravens. They're trying to keep up with the Bengals. It's a very important game. This game would take them under 500. And I really like the urgency that that Cleveland must be facing. I mean, they're 4th in the AFC North right now, so they're in a familiar place for themselves. They find themselves where they've been so many times, and meanwhile, this season was a year where there was so much hope. So, if you're a Cleveland fan, you must be feeling terrible. If you're a analyst type, you're probably thinking, wow, how could I have picked the Browns? Or here they are back again, the true Browns that they've been, right? Well, I understand that logic, and I almost concur. Here's the problem I have with the Browns. This is my biggest problem with them. They're not a super passing team. They don't have great weapons. I think they have a couple of guys. Jarvis Landry can certainly can certainly play good football. They have some guys that can make catches. I mean, they're not, without wide receivers. I think their strengths are tight end. The biggest, they have a good, solid offensive line. They have a great, tandem of running backs. And I don't mean two, I mean three guys that can run. They have to dominate in the ground game to win. If they don't, it's over. It's plain and simple. The defense is good, but they're so injured, and on top of that, I don't want to call them the most dominant defense. They're not. They have a couple of playmakers: Denzel Ward, Myles Garrett, to name a few. But that's not where they're going to win. They can create some turnovers, set their offense up, but I don't think the offense is really that imposing, other than the run game. Because Baker Mayfield, their starting quarterback, is really just an average quarterback. Just another guy. So I do think that the Packers, you'd be silly not to pick them. The Packers are going to win this game. Like I said, they're at home. They want to maintain the first spot. They only lead by a game. And so you got to go with the Packers. If the Browns find a way to win, it's going to be because they got multiple turnovers. They did a hell of a job coaching, and my understanding, I think it's Stefanski, is going to miss this game. I have to double check that. Stefanski's a great coach. I think he deserves he deserves a raise. I mean, the guy's done a great job since he's been there. But I got to go with the Packers. Packers are going to win this game. I don't think it's going to be all that high scoring. Probably around 28 to 21, 28-21. The Packers win this game. Okay, next up we've got the Indianapolis Colts traveling to the Arizona Cardinals. Wow, what do I say here? I mean, we've got a really surging, strong Indianapolis Colts team that seems to have found its true identity, going against a Cardinals team that has lost 4 of the last 7. It seems to be losing its identity, and they seem to be searching, or I bet that's better, not losing identity, but searching for their identity. See, it's interesting because the Colts, one of their strengths, probably their biggest strength, is their offensive line. Their offensive line is really, really good. And of course, it all starts with Quentin Nelson. But they also have found that, and I was surprised also, I have to admit, Jonathan Taylor is a fantastic talent at running back. He's durable. He's got the athleticism. But I think the thing that makes him so special, and I think people miss this, is he has great vision. I mean, next level vision. I can't, just in words, I can't tell you. But I will say, just to give you an idea, when he hits, the line of scrimmage to run, he's seeing the different stunts from the different defenders that are trying to clog the holes. He's seeing the line of scrimmage. He's seeing the blocking. He's got vision that allows him to find the hole probably better than anybody in the league right now. So, when you talk about that vision along with his size and combination of speed, okay, and his skill set with the moves, I mean, you're talking about a tremendous, tremendous runner. The only person that even comes close to that as far as the combination of size and speed and, that kind of combination would be Derrick Henry. But Henry doesn't even have that vision. He doesn't have that vision, and I don't think he's any faster. He's bigger, but I don't think he's any faster. So, yeah, their running game for Indianapolis is fantastic. Meanwhile, if they were leaning on Wentz, let's be honest, Wentz is, I think, a good quarterback, probably not in your upper echelon, probably an average quarterback. He has great athleticism and size and so on. He's got the measurables. His arm strength is great, but he's prone to mistakes. I mean, whether it's fumbles or interceptions, he's prone to mistakes. I think he's the kind of player that just, as a quarterback, I think he just tries to do too much. He thinks he can always find a way to get out of or make something out of nothing, and this is where he gets into trouble. So that would be the Wentz situation. They don't have great receivers. I mean, Kyle Pittman, what's his first name? Kyle Pittman. Anyway, the wide receiver number 11, Michael Pittman. Excuse me, that's it. Michael Pittman is their best wide receiver weapon right now. I don't know whatever happened to T.Y. Hilton. I don't know if it was from that injury he had a couple of years ago, but the guy's disappeared. He's like, what is he, like number 3 wide receiver on the team now? He's like forgotten. His numbers are like in the toilet, right? Now, their defense is a better than average defense. Let's look at the stats. We'll talk about them. And again, they're going against Arizona. I think a lot of people know what to expect from Arizona. They've got a great defense. Their offense is supposed to be, explosive. Let's look at these numbers, okay? So, first of all, most people, you should know, most people are betting on the Cardinals to win this game. Here we go. Yeah, so the Colts are 3rd in points scored per game. Cardinals are 8th. The total yards per game, the Colts are 14th. Total yards per game. And the Cardinals, meanwhile, are 6th. Passing yards per game, again, talk about identity. The Colts are 26th in passing yards per game. Meanwhile, the Cardinals are 7th. Rushing yards per game, it's the other way around for the Colts. They're 2nd. And the Cardinals, surprisingly, are 11th, but that has a lot to do with Kyler Murray. So they're 11th in rushing. Time of possession, the Colts are 4th, has a lot to do with running. Meanwhile, the Cardinals are 8th. Points against per game, the Colts are 9th, the Cardinals are 5th. Total yards against per game, the Colts are 15th, and the Cardinals are 7th. Passing yards against, the Colts are 15th, Cardinals are 5th. Rushing yards against per game, I think this is important in this game. Colts are 14th, the Cardinals are 17th. Sacks, the Colts are 18th, and the Cardinals are 10th. When it comes to interceptions, the Colts are 3rd, and the Cardinals are 13th. So that gives you a snapshot of these two teams. I mean, these are impressive numbers. These are both really good teams. Indianapolis is now 8-6. They're 2nd in the AFC South. And meanwhile, Arizona is 10-4, hanging on to first place in the very difficult NFC West. NFC West. So, when we think about this matchup, the game is in Arizona, which has a lot to do with why the bettors are going Arizona. Arizona is also desperate. Arizona, can look at the film and say, hey, what did we just do or not do against the Lions? What can we do differently? So it's a stout defense, clearly, looking at the numbers that the Cardinals have. Can they stop the running game? Well, the Patriots couldn't stop them. I don't know that anybody can, to be honest. I'm not sure that anybody can right now. The Patriots beat down with the run game the Bills a couple of weeks back, and then they couldn't stop Jonathan Taylor and the Colts. So can the Cardinals stop this runner, this team? I mean, this offensive line, can they? I don't like their chances of stopping the run game. And I do like some of the players that the Cardinals have on defense. Budda Baker, Chandler Jones. I mean, these guys are real difference makers. They have a couple of linebackers, Simmons, that are, very, very athletic guys. But I don't know. I don't see them really stopping the run game. And then meanwhile, what are the Cardinals going to do? They've lost DeAndre Hopkins, D-Hop. They've lost him for the season, and that seems to have made a huge, huge difference. Not surprisingly. I mean, the guy got so many targets. They've got an older A.J. Green. They've got Christian Kirk, who's stepped up a bit. They have Rondale Moore, the rookie. And then they've got Zach Ertz. People are kind of down on just how good Zach Ertz is. I think he's still as dangerous as ever. But I don't see this team being able to really do much against a pretty good defense from Indianapolis. I'm going Indianapolis in this game, and I think it's going to be a relatively low-scoring game because, Indianapolis will run the ball. And, I don't think it's going to be particularly explosive. I don't see the Cardinals scoring a lot of points. I think this game's going to be tight. It'll be 24-21, and the Colts will win this game. They'll keep on their streak. 24-21, the Colts win. And by the way, the Cardinals might be in trouble because their next game is in Dallas. So, Cardinals are going south, and not in a good way. Okay, so the next game that we have up is the Los Angeles Chargers traveling to the Houston Texans. I'm being a little bit, I'm going to be a little faster because I think I'm taking a little too long, giving you guys a little too much information on each team. So I'm going to speed up and kind of summarize.